What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Another week, just talking ball. We're back here to talk about Big 12 SEC teams, specifically Kansas and Texas. But we got some other things to talk about. We're excited to be back, and as always, I got my boy Eric Foster in the building, the Texas number one fan. So I
Hey
know
man, I wore black. That's what you wear to a funeral, man. I'm just here.
he's got me every week. That's pretty funny, man. Yeah, I'm still repping, wearing some throwback stuff. Maybe I'll bring some old mojo back, but we're gonna keep on going. How was your week, man? How was your weekend? How was your week so far?
My week was good. We did what we needed to do. I think we had the perfect mix of not talking about the game specifically, but the perfect 2 week mix of Arch Manning's play, tamping down the hype, and then seeing the growth, right? So then on the good side of you saw him grow from game one to game two. But you also see that there's to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. Quinn Ewers is the bus driver for you. So it was a good week from that sense that it just reinforced a lot of the things I talked about. I wanted to see if we play to the standard. And it was shaky at first because offensively we didn't. But as the game wore on, you just saw the guys compete. So take this week, you get better, and we know what it is in Dallas, baby.
It's funny when things are going good, boy. People want to tell you their whole life story. They want to tell you everything about what's going on when things are going good.
I think you know me better than most. I think if I told you we would be 5-0, number 2 team in the country, a a real good shot at accomplishing everything that anybody wants to accomplish in a college football season. And this was the level of humility I was showing, you wouldn't believe me. You
Yeah,
wouldn't have bought it.
I wouldn't have bought it, but you know what? I will give you this much to your credit. It was not a big surprise that y'all are where y'all are. Now, on the other hand, over here, if you would have told me with the team we had going in and the way things were looking preseason wise, even you, as much as I, call you a hater, how hard it is to get a compliment out of you, that we would be 1-4, and losing the way we have, and just what the morale is, nobody would have believed it.
But if we go back and I went back and looked at episode one of the things I talked about was how will Kansas handle success? How will you handle going through the season
and
now,
that's a real thing.
being the hunted versus being the hunter? And I think we'll see it in some of the highlights, but I think you kind of recess in some of those areas.
No doubt. We're gonna get into it. So on the show today, we're gonna get into some topics. Alabama, Georgia, man, classic in my opinion. Game of the year so far. At least so far, game of the year, hands down, man. Saw some NFL style throws, NFL style plays being made, and just resilience by both teams, man. And just in any game there has to be a loser. Eric and I talk. It's getting, I never like to indulge in this, but it's part of the business, part of the game, is that coaches' hot seat starting to warm up for certain coaches. You kind of start to see things not changing and things starting to turn. And of course, we'll go into what we're mad about. You obviously know what I'm mad about, but I will still tell you. We'll get into the recap of our respective games. Got a special guest, got an ex-Kansas Jayhawk, ex-All-American, Super Bowl champion, Ron Warner on the show. So we're excited about that. Got our player of the week, Ryan Williams. I think that's everybody's player of the week. Going back and looking at the play this 17-year-old freshman made. And then we'll get into our game predictions, man. So let's just jump right into it, man. Let's talk about this game, man. What did you think about this Georgia Alabama matchup?
I'm so conditioned to, we spend a lot of time playing the college football video game, and you go down 21-0, it's time to get off the sticks. That game is over, especially
100%.
In real life. 28-0. I certainly tuned out. I got in the shower in the third quarter, and I think Alabama was still up 17. I get out, it's a tie ball game. Georgia's taking the lead.
And exactly, but teams that good too, that don't happen when
a team that good, and better than most. I have all the respect in the world for Kalen DeBoer and what he did at Washington, and now what he's doing in Tuscaloosa. So I was shocked, and I have a really good friend. Shout out to Sam. who is an Alabama insider, and I knew how elated he was. I was texting him at the point that they were up 21-0. And he's at the game, and I said, I know it has to feel incredible to be there. He said, man, unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even want to text him after, when I ended up talking to him today, but I didn't even want to text him during that game, because you normally, had it been you and then, this is Kansas in a big game, when that other team took the lead, I'm probably texting the eyeballs, and I'm like, hey, but I know it had to be thrilling and an exhilarating win. And as a Texas fan, it fills me with some optimism, but probably a lot more fear, because you're going to be facing a team that is mad as hell. Mm-hmm. And they've also shown that they just won't quit and they won't compete. Then they will compete all the way through. And I think,
resilience.
So I think that also scares you, because when they come to Austin, no matter what the score is, in your mind the game is never over. So I won't even be able to enjoy it probably until clock at 0.
And it's funny about, you say it cliche, you say it, but now they've shown you, they proved it against one of the best teams in the nation. So like that is a totally possible statement. Yeah, man. Just we talked earlier off camera, just the improvement and the emergence of Jalen Milroe as a quarterback, as a passer, should I say. Obviously, his legs are dangerous. His strength, man, his physicality as a quarterback running the ball is a threat in itself. But the throws he made, and even credit.
I'm a little more okay with some of the stuff y'all did to me in the video game with him now. I'm a little. I don't buy all of it, but some of it I feel a little better about.
And Carson Beck. I mean, I think he exercised a lot of poise in being a leader and being a quarterback, because 9 times out of 10, man, like I say, you see that score, Alabama traditionally doesn't let go of anything like that, score wise, but that's why you play the game.
And everybody starts to pack it up, and I think when I look back on the game, some of the things that did happen, I think Alabama got conservative, as you do, right? When you're
naturally,
when you're up 28 points, you don't put the ball in danger anymore. You don't run your quarterback anymore. You don't do any of those things that
start subbing here and there, giving kids
other
chance to
guys
play.
some minutes.
There's so many things. There's so many things.
So one could argue, potentially Alabama may have got in that recessive mode a little early.
No doubt.
And then on the Georgia side, most coaches with the rest of the season in front of them, going up 28-0, I'm not pulling out all my tricks in this game. I'm going to just play I want respect, and I want to try to make the score a little more respectable, but I'm not pulling out everything I got to try to go and get it. And credit to them. That's what they did. I love it because, as a fan, and we all know that kind of coach brain that we all have on the other side, is as a Texas fan, I'm like, oh, you got it all. You have it all on film now. So that I don't expect any surprise in Austin. So I'm happy with that.
It's two ways, because, the playbook, we don't know how the playbook is, but I'll come from a coach's standpoint. When you are in situations like that and it's 28-0 and you're against a powerhouse like that, you start to look to your team and this is a great film. What's the word?
Who still competes?
Indicator who. Yeah, exactly. So now I'm watching my position or the whole team, everybody who's still playing hard, like it's 0-0, who's still giving effort, reading keys, playing technique, doing all the little things right, because that says a lot about who you trust and who you're going to carry deep into the season. So, and we always, it's not a secret. I've been in locker rooms where we've been down, and that's been the speech from head coaches say, we're going to see who still wants to play, who still cares, who still has pride, who's going to go out there and still do all the little things right, do what they're supposed to do. And it's going to tell us a lot about this team and y'all as individuals on the film. So, I mean, all that, man, it's so much stuff, man, that you can get into. But yeah, it was a great game. I know we're not going to harp on it because that's not our teams, but it was great. But on the flip side of things, as season moves on, what teams or what have you seen from those teams that have struggled, year before, last year, now this year, that may give you cause to think that the coach could be on the hot seat? Is there a coach that stands out, one or two off the top of your head?
I'll give you two super common sense ones, and then one that I just hear this odd buzz around. Obviously, I think any person with a brain can feel like Billy Napier out at Florida is probably coaching for his job at this point, and you're probably not. A bowl game probably won't do it. A bowl game probably won't save it. I think he's lucky in the sense, because I know as a Texas fan, he doesn't make it to the end of this season. He probably is already gone and they're on to the search, but some things at Florida, they don't have a president right now, the university. I think
there's
they
some
have
other housekeeping things.
I think they have an interim AD. So they got a whole lot of other things to figure out in the broader scope of their athletics program before the people are even in place to make a decision about Billy. And that's luckily for him, that's given him some time. They've won their last game. I'm excited to see what they do on Saturday
this week.
To see if, because you start, one thing in this world of sports that lifts you up or tears you down faster than anything is how do you compete in your region? Mm-hmm. So if you beat UCF, you beat Florida State at the end of the year. You win some of those, you win a big SEC game, probably at home. You have some things that are really going to work in your favor, and maybe you get through this thing. Yeah. Switching to the Big 12, Dave Aranda's in trouble. And I feel like we've been having this conversation for a little while, and he fought it off last year, which I thought surprised me. Another bad year. You probably don't fight it off in Waco anymore because of a lot of the other things that are going on. You've got Tom Herman out there. You've got Gary Patterson out there. You've got some guys out there.
Who's on staff there right now?
Yeah. So you got guys out there that are probably willing to step in to that job. And you've seen a rise of some assistant coaches around the country who have their units playing pretty well. So you have those options around. GJ Kinney at Texas State, right? You've got some things in the area now that guys are putting pressure on you. I'll use a different sports analogy. Texas baseball, right? You probably have David Pierce, who's gone to, I want to say he went to like 5 College World Series at Texas, and you still get pushed out. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because of what Jim Schlossnagle did at Texas A&M, right? So you look at TCU's had some recent success. SMU's got a little bit of buzz. Those kind of teams that Texas Tech, those teams that float in that same bubble as Baylor historically.
You're too close, man. You're too close.
Teams that float in that same area. So you're looking at that. And then one that I'm just seeing a lot and I hear a lot in these weird spaces is Mike Norvell at Florida State.
That's the newest one I've kind of,
And it's odd to me because, again, being a fan of a, historic for Texas's top 5, but FSU, you certainly put them in that top 10, top 12 all time of programs. Being a fan of these programs, seeing how easily they can kind of wash under and being so quick to maybe get rid of the guys that brought you back to relevancy, or in Texas case, Mac Brown, guys that took you past relevancy and put you at the top of the mountain. So, a little odd seeing what they did last year, but not being able to capitalize on it this year has certainly hurt them. So we'll see. I definitely expect 2 of those 3 to not be there next year.
And that's a tough deal, just being on both sides of it. And I remember just when I was coaching high school, I was a coordinator, and the defensive coordinator was a college guy at times. He said, I remember he used to tell me this all the time. He said, "You ain't never been coaching till you got fired." I was like, what does that mean? He's like, you coach long enough, you're gonna get fired,
And you don't, you think, I think all of us who, maybe are in a professional space or what have you, you think about being fired having a little bit of finality to it. And in this coaching world, I don't feel near as bad about it as I used to, because these guys typically always land on their feet. And hell, some of them, I've seen it too, fail up. So,
very well said.
Dave Aranda's one. Dave Aranda's going to be able to go be somebody's DC. Dave Aranda will get a job in a week. You'll look at, Yeah, you just look at some of the Billy Napier. Somebody will probably let him
Yeah.
call offense.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but those are some of the common
Yeah.
ones I see out there.
Yeah, and that's oof, that's a tough deal, man. It's so much, man. That's why I love this game, and sometimes I hate it because sometimes it doesn't love you back, and that's not only as a player but also as a coach because nobody signs up to lose, and sometimes you get caught up in that. You can identify with that, Eric, being such a passionate fan. Even though you've got some sense to you, some people don't exercise sense, but it's like you're so caught up in how they're losing you calling this person the worst thing in the world. They need to go, but this is a family man who didn't sign up to lose, but
Right.
it's just not working out. And it could be as simple as that's just not the right fit. And nobody wants to admit that because, like you say, it's I don't want to get fired. I don't want to uproot my family and have to go through all this or whatever. This is the job I want to stay. There's so many different factors, man. But
There
that's just
has
part
to
of
be a
life.
fine line, right? Because I think
Yeah.
there's this because we've seen it. We Michigan tried to run Jim Harbaugh off twice, if I recall correctly.
I never
You
seen
know,
nobody stall him out. Let me go ahead and win this natty real quick.
right,
Let me show you. Let me.
right, and I watched Texas run Mac Brown.
I
So
know.
you see these guys that there's a fine line between loyalty and people who are good people. Charlie Strong in Texas, by all accounts, a phenomenal person. And you want to account for that, and you want to allow this space for people to be good people, um, and worry about other things, because at the end of the day, winning is primary, but you do want them to graduate their student athletes. You do want them to turn these players into, responsible members of society. You do want those things to happen. So you want to reward and promote those things within a program beyond the X's and O's, but you just can't lose a whole lot along the way.
Oh yeah, and it's a tough balance because let's be honest, man. People aren't giving a damn about what they're doing in the community overall if they're not winning. Now, when they're winning, it's like, oh,
They care when they're winning. They
yeah,
care when they're winning,
yeah,
right? Because it's a
yeah.
good feel
Well,
good
yeah,
story
exactly.
about
That's what I meant to
how
say. Yeah,
good
that
this person
yeah, they don't
is in the
care when you're
community.
losing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I mean.
When you're
And
losing, nobody give a damn.
you know, their life don't end after Texas or Lawrence.
Also true.
Like you say, you want to create responsible, accountable citizens in society, and
That
maybe
win.
they can give something back. Yeah, everybody wants to win, and that's just life is not like that. But with winning being a segue, we're gonna go into our next segment of what you mad about, and everybody that knows me, including you, can pretty much guess what I'm mad about. And I joke, I smile, I talk. I love the game. Obviously, losing is nothing new because I've played sports since I was 7 years old. But I am very mad about how our season is going so far. Me and us, the Kansas Jayhawks, and it weighed on me a little bit this week. Eric could tell you, I don't, we don't pull punches, we don't make up stuff. We haven't even talked that much since the last weekend. I mean, we haven't talked. I mean, I've kind of just been to myself,
I
and
tend to give you your space.
just I don't know, man. It's I'm mad about it, and obviously because I love them.
Are you mad about that
I'm
you're losing,
yes,
which I think that's a given,
uh-huh.
or are you mad about it? Does it seem indicative of things that may carry on past this season? Do you what like
I
is
don't.
it more
Yeah.
than just losing?
I think it's a combination of. I don't think it'll carry past the season, but I think it's been a combination of obviously when you had an expectation and a realistic expectation. Now I
Absolutely, no
wasn't
doubt,
sitting here
no
talking
doubt,
about
no doubt.
Natty, but like we were a good team on paper and
Yeah,
we
no
were
doubt, no
building.
doubt.
So the expectation not being met right now, how we're losing, because I don't think it's just we're sorry. We're not sorry. We're losing because I guess sometimes we can't get out of our own way for the first three. And then I never want to be a complainer. You got to play the game, but I thought there was another element that affected a close game in TCU because I think there were two evenly matched teams. I'll get into that a little later. So it's like it's happening to only us, and I'm only paying attention to Kansas. I'm pretty sure there's other teams that are winless that are like dang, but it's like it's a new way how we're losing, and it's not necessarily because we're just sorry or just I'm just mad about it. But tell me what you're mad about. I'll get into it. I don't want.
You know what? I'm gonna throw you a curveball because I'm not
Okay.
mad today. So I'm gonna
Wow.
put some positivity and some light out into the world, and I get my inspiration from politics, and you know me, I follow politics like I follow sports, and watching the debate last night and putting aside the factors of who told the truth and who didn't, and because I think it was a healthy mix both ways, it was civil, and
I was about to say that. I agree. Yes.
I think anytime on a big stage you can, you know, kind of return this crazy world with all the things that are going on in the Midwest and the southern part of the country, when you can return things back to a level of civility. And I was almost impressed because, you know, in politics, it would be the equivalent in sports as coaches getting up in their Monday press conference and saying all these horrible things about each other.
Mudslinging.
And then at the game, you know, we're dapping up and shaking hands pregame, and then I don't run up the score when I can, and I still shake hand at the end. Which would never happen in sports, by the way. If a coach felt a way and had an opportunity to run it up, they absolutely would.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that it feels like we're getting back to a step toward normalcy.
I almost thought to an extent they were almost too polite. It was like
it was weird. Like I
hey.
feel like that was a goal though.
Yeah, you could tell
I kind of have
point of emphasis. Yeah,
I have some insight into kind of how they prepare. I don't, you know, name dropping that, you know, Austin Mayor or two, you know,
we know
I've had some insight, but
yeah.
They prepare for these things very much, you know, like you would in a sports world, and you got your goals and things you want to accomplish. And I could clearly tell from the outset, one of their things that they wanted to accomplish was be civil, find areas of common ground. And I think they did that. And I think it was healthy.
Yeah.
I think it was good.
I was about to say it was refreshing. I mean, it was quiet, it was laid back. I don't want to say it almost got to the point
it was boring.
Okay.
It was boring.
I didn't want to say that,
and
but yeah, it's to the point like, okay, that's enough.
Good.
That's enough.
We forgot that
You're right.
You know, politics to an extent is supposed to be boring because boring means normal and stable.
You're right, because that's how it was when we were younger, and it got to a point where it was kind of trolling and you know, social media and the stage. You're right. I totally agree. Well, moving on from that, I thought different spin. Yeah, he's not mad. That means things are going real well for you in Austin. You know, so first SEC game of Texas inception into the. Any surprises? Tell me your thoughts on the game. You were there. I thought about you, but like I was in my own feelings at the moment.
I was surprised by our slow start. Because
first score wasn't until 6 minutes.
We hadn't had one all year.
Yeah, 6 minutes left in the first quarter.
So that was
that
new.
Stood out to me.
And slow is relative, right? Because you move the ball very well, but you fumble. And then I thought Mississippi State, it's one of those things when you're going against a new program, new regime, you don't know what they want to do. So you don't know, you know, you're up against a new freshman quarterback who probably has little to no film, all these things. So I don't know what you want to do. So I don't know what I'm taking away from you just yet. So we played a lot of base stuff. We didn't do a lot of the intricate things that we normally would do.
A lot of discovery going on right now.
So I think what it allowed, you know, Mississippi State to do is they said, well, hell, we're just gonna hold this ball. You know, we don't have to.
All for that.
and that's what they did. So you know, looking back on it, I think if everyone had to do it all over again, I know certainly on the Texas side, they'd say, oh, well, we're just going to take deep shots down the field and try to hurry up and score, because we know once we get up,
they won't
17, 21, 24 points, now I have to check you back to what we talked about with the Georgia game. Are you playing to win, or are you just playing to get out of here?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think we took advantage early on of putting their back against the wall until late. So I was a little surprised by that, but in that, encouraged in no finger pointing. You go back to Jaden Blue after he fumbles. Unfortunately, he fumbles again. You go back to Jonte Cook after he drops a surefire touchdown. He capitalizes on it. We still rush for almost 200 yards. So just seeing kind of some of the underlying things that you look at of, how is the program beyond your top guys?
Yeah.
So being able to go through that, I think we did what we were supposed to do. You just, at this point, I just want to win because the schedule will take care of itself. I don't have to chase points. I don't have, well, let me not say that because you kind of do. And a word to the wise for fans of SEC football, if you look at the tiebreak rules, one of the probably the tiebreaker you get to are points for and against common opponents. So if you want to eliminate any doubt, you want to run the score up. And as a Texas fan, and you know how I feel about Sark, man, that's probably the one thing about the season that makes me a little nervous about what happens if we drop one. Hope we just don't ever have to have that conversation. But you assume that you've got to play Georgia. You've got to go to Dallas and play an Oklahoma team that beat you last year. You've got to go to Texas A&M and play in what's going to be an absolutely wild environment.
Oh my gosh! First time I don't know how many years. I know that.
So anything can happen. So you just want to give yourself as much protection as you can. And running the score up is not in Sark's first nature.
Yeah,
right.
You've mentioned that before.
He very much respects his opponents and respects his team. And I think he, like, in that traditional coach's mind, you don't shoot your bullets if you don't have to either, right? You just play the game and you control the ball and you get the hell out of there.
And you're right. And I think, as y'all are, I don't want to say cruising, as y'all are winning, I think it is, though, in that moment. If you have the opportunity to do it, you need to do it. Like you said, that's not in his first nature because you don't know what later on down the road, what could happen on the other side, on your side, on a lot of variables that you don't have control over, So I think, the days of, like you say, not sportsmanship, but like if you don't want to run it up on them, you're not going to run it up on them. But the media, the voters, these new
you're at a point now
have created
the guys on the other side.
It's created.
Should understand.
Yeah.
So it no longer has that same.
You understand, but when it's you getting your teeth kicked in like that.
But you know what? There's a difference between we've done it to each other in a video game world, and we've seen it happen in real life sports. Shout out to Renee Brown at LBJ. We know.
Don't shout her.
We know what it feels like to run somebody out of the gym or off the field because you're just not a good person versus, I'm kind of just only doing this because I have to, you know what I mean? And I think it feels different on the other side too. I certainly would, I'm not going to say it wouldn't sting because that's a lie, but I know for me, it would sting less if somebody was kicking me in my head to save their own life. Just does. That's a thing.
Well, yeah, I'll have to understand that. No doubt. Well said. Yeah, well said. Ugh. Oh my God. Well, got some time off. Got an open week. Getting ready for the Red River shootout.
They're self-scouting this week. So they bring in some analysts and some other coaches that are off duty is what we'll call them this year. And they kind of watch the first part of the season and they say, here are your tendencies. Here are some of the things I'd consider breaking. Here are some of the things you do well, maybe more of this. Here are some of the things you do bad. Here's where I would exploit you if I was on the other side of this. So I really look forward to, and they've already announced Quinn Ewers is healthy and he'll play in Dallas. Any Texas fan, that should excite us because we remember what happened last time Quinn Ewers came back from an injury in Oklahoma was his first game, 49-0 for those of us that don't remember. I don't know that we'll get to 49-0. The O is a real possibility because they're not very good on offense. The 49,
and they have some quarterback issues.
Yeah, they're much better on defense this year. So I don't know that 49 is in the cards. But a 32-0 could happen.
Well, hey, I know you're definitely being good spirits. I have to shout out. It's Eric's birthday this weekend. I won't say what day, but this weekend it'll be his birthday. So with his favorite team being undefeated, number 2 in the nation. I
Best
mean,
gift in the world, man.
boy, I'm just, I hope to be a part of it, just get a glimpse of it. You know
All
how it
right,
is.
man. You stalling now. We didn't talk about the Longhorns enough, man. Let's get to the eulogy, man. Tell me about your
Well,
Jayhawks.
once again, I didn't even write down the score. We lost. But I'm gonna tell you, I watched.
38-27.
Yeah, I know I did have to score on it. We lost, dropped to 1-4. We're at the bottom of the Big 12 in conference play. That is a second consecutive conference loss. Numbers wise, I've got them up here, but that doesn't, to me, that doesn't matter. I mean, net rushing, TCU had 151, Kansas had 167. Net yards passing, TCU 356, Kansas 179. You could say that, but I was looking at um a different stat, and one of the different stats I'm looking at was penalties, and there's a big goose egg by TCU for 0 penalties. Now, anybody that's been around TCU or the Big 12 or just football in general, it's hard to go through a football game with no penalties. I mean, if it's simple as a delay a game, jump, false start, whatever, but no penalties, RPO, you don't know somebody's across the line. I don't know. But nevertheless, so when I was watching the game in my solitude as I do, I I thought we came out and had one of the best opening drives we've had all season. I mean, we looked sharp. I think the coaches called some confident, high percentage throws for Jalen Daniels, and we made plays. Had an explosive play with Devin Neal, got out of there. I mean, we capitalized off of the turnover. We did the things we needed to do. So, okay, let's just keep going. And I'm gonna be honest. As we play, just because I'm not there in Lawrence, I'm not with the team, I don't coach for them, but like as a fan, as a passionate fan, as someone that wants us to win so bad, I was still looking at little things like, okay, that still don't feel right, that still doesn't look right, but nevertheless, we were going, So I thought the running backs ran much better this year. This past game, and what I mean by that, not that they have been bad. Devin Neal numbers speak for itself. Deuce Highshaw always gets it done, but I mean, one cut, one step downhill, running behind their pads, low, finishing runs, doing all those little things. I could really tell that might have been a point of emphasis in practice this past week. They were just finishing runs the right way. We come back, and I thought in that first half we left 2 scores on the field, whether it be touchdowns or turnovers. And I'm that's the first thing that stands out. That team last year didn't do a lot of that. We didn't leave a lot of meat on the bone, whether it was threes or whatever. We found a way to get points. We found a way to convert low percentage things, third and longs and things like that. And right now, that's just not really on the radar. Right now, it's like, let's just finish drives without a turnover. And, when I was coaching, one of the big things we always wanted to say was a successful drive is as long as you're kicking at the end of each drive. Now, kicking also entails punting. If you're punting, but you're not turning the ball over, right, you're just flipping the field and you're giving your defense a chance to go, stop them on a short field or a long field, should I say, on defense. But what also hurt us, man, late in the game, they gave up a late touchdown with 12 seconds. We struggled defensively on the RPO glance route specifically, where some people call it a skinny post, small post, slant, whatever your terminology is. But we struggled with that. We was giving up the inside every time, and TCU was taking advantage of that. And Kendall Browse kept calling it, kept calling. I mean, I would do the same damn thing, So that was a little frustrating. I just knew that probably okay, we can't fix it right now on the field, but let's get out this half and let's go fix it. But we gave up a damn touchdown with 12 seconds left to go in a half. So I think we got the ball in the second half. Another great drive. And I'm looking at my notes, another great drive. Highshaw finished. We had one negative play in that whole drive, and I don't know the amount of plays, but we go up 24-21, and it at this point it's back and forth, but it's still that feeling of just we're not stopping them. I mean, we are not stopping them. We do get a stop. We capitalize. Then we punt the ball. J.P. Richardson, for older people, that name may be familiar because Bucky Richardson is his dad, who was a tough SOB at Texas A&M. I mean, there was rumors about this kid. He played quarterback first of all. I say kid. Bucky's older than me, but we say kid. But it was like rumors of him power cleaning 400 pounds, and he was a quarterback. Like he was a dude, like a tough, hard nosed guy. So, and his son plays the same way, you know. So having the opportunity to see both of them play, I watched Bucky play as a little kid, and I'm watching his son play as a grown, older man. Runs that same, you know, tenacity, resilience, and with a questionable block in the back being the first thing that happened that sprung him for that long punt return, you know, you could say it's a difference, but I mean, you still got to play the game. But you know, I don't know that the officiating even at halftime, ESPN analyst was on the sideline with Coach Leipold and asked him, you know, is officiating a concern? And he asked him, what do you think? You know, you see it, you know, and you never want to be that coach. You never want to be that guy that complain about stuff that's not in your control.
Yeah.
You control your team, their effort, execution, and things like that. So it's hard not to, because those teams, like I said, those teams were evenly matched, and in a game that close, evenly matched teams, those calls are going to be the difference.
So let me ask you.
Uh-huh.
According to ESPN analytics, you're favored in only one of your last 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Is the season over?
No, it's not over. But I say this to say I don't think that matters, because nobody has seen KU play its best ball yet. Now, when you've seen Kansas play their best ball, and you can say, okay, they executed, they probably did everything they could have done, and they won by 5 or 6 or 7. And it's like, now you're looking at, okay, this is KU's best, and who was on their schedule, like, they don't have a chance.
So when in your mind does that become cemented? And I'll say it from this perspective, as a Texas fan who, you've known me 30 years. Yeah, it is absolutely hard to get me to see beyond where my mind is.
Yeah.
So at what point does a team's best become what they've shown us, right? Because the age-old adage is you are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
So at what point is their best not this hypothetical best that we have, but rather their best is what we've already seen, and when they play it, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and I think that's a 2-part answer. I think as a person who doesn't like know a team, and you just watch their team and you judge them based off how they played, no, we do not look like a good team right now. Based off of what we put on film, we're gonna make a mistake, and you're gonna be able to capitalize on it and win the game. Now, I don't like to speak in potentials, because potential is just unproven things. But what we should be doing, and because I'm a little closer to the, you know, to the organization as far as knowing people there, and, you know, watching them since I've gone there, you know, they're still a better team than the team I played on, you know, and we fought. I mean, I've played with.
But one could argue the competition is as well, right? Because teams are more athletic.
Yeah, you're right. It's different. I just think, you know, I think I'm still not gonna go, because people, you know, on the internet is, oh, Kansas is old, always back to, you know, where it used to be. That's over.
Maybe not that, right? Because there's temporary setbacks, but I know I guess what I'm really asking, because I don't know the answer for football, but I know the answer for basketball. I know that you can have a basketball team where you return 4 of your 5 starters from a team that won 30 games. And truly only be a team that's capable of winning 20 games this year, right? Because the chemistry mix, how people are fitting into these new roles, you're thinking about how Kansas's offense has changed, how their defense has changed. So like, is that not a thing in football where you can return a lot of key pieces, and the ceiling actually end up being lower?
You know what? If it is, I've never seen it, and I can't believe that we would be the first to prove or show that. I don't think that is the case. But like I say, I think there's a lot more moving parts in football compared to basketball. I mean, left tackle misses a block, that's going to affect the throw. That's going to affect the quarterback's timing. If the receiver's not ready to make the break, and these are not excuses. This is just the way football is played. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you could say, you mentioned it earlier, just get back to doing our base stuff, because we have good base stuff. Everybody wants to say, is we're losing OC, if it's this, oh, we need to bench Jalen Daniels. I mean, you're not a Kansas fan, so to say, so I don't know how much of the roster but I still think Jalen Daniels gives you the best chance to win. I mean, we're not in last year where a lot of people didn't believe in Jason Bean until he went out and did it, or he had to do it. He had to do it. There was no one else. So at first people were hard on Bean about not being able to make throws, when in the bowl game against Arkansas 2 years ago, when he made that outrageous throw out of bounds to go into triple overtime, they rode him. You know what I'm saying? Then this past year, Jalen Daniels gets hurt against TCU last year, and then he carries us to another bowl game and a win. So like, the world is fickle, people are fickle, but getting back to what we need to do. I don't have the answer. I'm a fan. I'm a coach. I'm a analyst. I've studied in scouting, and it is what I've said it is. You're showing what you are on film. I'm not gonna say it's a bad team. When you're watching film and you're preparing for a team, I know for a fact that every team that's prepared for Kansas has said they're making some mistakes, but this team is dangerous. And
but can't you not? Because bad team means you don't have talent. You just don't possess the skill. Yeah. But I have seen, as a Texas fan with my own eyes, I have seen good teams that just play bad consistently. Sark's first year, Sark's second year, right? Those were good teams with good talent that consistently played bad.
Yeah.
So at some point, I think people get those two things confused, that no, we're not a bad team because we have skill players, we have the talent. Yeah, you do. But at what point do we start accepting that this is just a good team that plays bad? I guess is
no, you're right, because you can go walk into any sports arena or discussion and say, who's your team? Kansas. Oh, they're 1-4. They sorry. But I know the team that they have, because you're with me, the team they possess, but I can't argue with 1-4. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I don't just talk football with anybody. Anyway, I don't just talk football with it.
So as a fan, as an alum, you're not giving up on them. At what point does the team reach the land? Let's just get ready for next year.
No, I think just like we talked about the example in the Georgia-Alabama game about guys playing hard even though they're getting blown out 28-0. I think it's the same thing. Let's start. Quarterback is a little different position-wise, but everybody else, evaluation throughout the whole week, best week of practice, this guy's gonna start. Earn the reps in practice, and let's go. And we're going to evaluate you in the game. We're not going to see, oh, you do all this to get to the game, and then in the game, you don't get it done. Then I'm marking you off for sure, this and that. But I think it's, everything's up. Everybody on the depth chart is an or.
Yeah.
Such and such or. Such. I've had to endure that as a player, where I was the outright starter as a sophomore, and then whatever happened, I'm an or guy, and then you fight back and you find out, and then now your name's just by itself. So I wouldn't say anything that I haven't experienced myself, or and I never want to be so biased because you're a Kansas guy, and I never want to be so just conservative, say well, they're not that bad. No, they're playing bad, and 1-4 shows that you're not a team executing the way you need to execute, or you're not cutting down on mistakes that you need to cut down on. And it's it's tough, man. And
you just worry about it getting between
no doubt.
the ears.
And I try not to just put my own thought on it, because I'm a competitor. I'm gonna show up and play no matter what. Some people are motivated differently, and I hate that, because some are front runners. We know about front runners, and things like that. So it's about the motivation and the culture. And I think Coach Leipold, what he's done is created a good culture. I think he's created a healthy culture. This is you gotta exercise some grit, man, and you gotta shut off. We talked about the four walls. Nobody opinion matters. Nobody thoughts matters, but who's within these four walls. And that's where you got to really just lock onto each other, because I see it, not even looking for it. Oh, get rid of Jalen Daniels. Get rid of this. Oh, they're playing like this. When's basketball season? Okay, you know, I mean, I've been always going to be an alum, but I've been a Kansas fan when it wasn't popular to be a Kansas fan, when it wasn't people doing podcasts about Kansas, when they're, now we're rock chalking and we're, you know, filling up the stadium, you know. I mean, have a little, as you say, have some class about yourself. Hell, you know, I mean, life ain't all marshmallows and rainbows. Hell, anyway, we're gonna move on, man.
Shout out to one of my favorite front runners in the world, Bake. Talking to you.
He's part of that toxic college football thread we have. Is his blood on my hands now? Didn't I win the last game we played?
That was Steven.
Steven. I'm still new to the group, but okay, shout out to Steven. You took that L. Anyway. All right, so let's right now what we're gonna do, get into our play of the week. And it was Ryan Williams for Alabama, the 17-year-old phenom who is getting just as much attention as Travis Hunter did coming into, you know, the NCAA world. So I just want to show this clip. Check it out.
Hey, see y'all from Texas, where we sit riding swangers and put diamonds in our.
There's a lot of calm and command from Milroe at the start of this game. He's got to have it right now. And they take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams, still spinning free. Touchdown, Alabama. They answer in one play. 75 yards for the 17.
All right, so just wanted to show that play of the week, a little segment that we wanted to add in. I mean, that was phenomenal. I mean,
that kid's incredible, man.
You saw that spin move, and to make, I mean, Georgia has some of the
you're just out here playing, and you're free, and you believe in your ability. So that kid is incredible, and he's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I hope he gets to stay, and I hope he stays at Alabama at least until he's ready to go to the NFL. You know, he hadn't played for 3 teams, you know, since then. But it's so funny because I've seen some memes about him being a reclassified, and he's only supposed to be a junior in high school or something like that.
Oh, so he reclassified up and not down.
Yeah. So,
I didn't know that.
You know, like if you're 17, I don't know his birthday. I should have looked it up because I was a 17-year-old freshman. Not comparing myself to him, I'm just saying I was a 17-year-old true freshman. But I only played like 3 or 4 games, and I turned 18.
I think at that in that world, when you have that much ability, because again, knowing how it is in the basketball world, you can take 17-year-olds and go. Hell, probably play them against grown men.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Because the skill is going to win out. Yeah. Where you worry about that is how's he adapting socially. Probably missing his friends, missing home. So for him to deal with all of that.
And the physicality, that'll change your mind real quick,
and still come do what he's doing. Hey, shout out to him. Hope I get to see him in Atlanta.
Oh man,
that means we did what we supposed to do.
We'll have to talk about a trip maybe for that. But anyway, what we got, our first special guest of the season, ex-teammate of mine, Ron Warner. All right. Now we got a very special guest, man. My first special guest of the second season, man. And, you know, every first guest, all the guests are special. But, man, you know, when it's a teammate, a bro, someone that you know, grew up around that helped you so much that you're still in touch with, it's a lot more special. Not to mention he's one of the Kansas All-Greats. So who I have right now with me is Ron Warner, man. And when I say he is a Kansas star through and through from Independence, Kansas, I met him when I was a freshman. He was a senior. And just in this 2 years at Kansas, he is the all-time single-season sack leader with 14.5 sacks, and he is third all-time career. Now, that's just in 2 years, all-time career. They had guys that had 4 and 5 years. And these days, you've got kids that's got 6 and 7 years. So first-team All-Big 12, first-team All-American, man, draft pick to the New Orleans Saints. My guy, Ron Warner, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Good to see you. It's been years, man. You know,
it's been years, man. You look good.
Good. You do too, man. You know, like I say, we talk about, you know, how we are now. We've talked off camera and stuff, but I met you when I was 17 years old, man. 17 years old, and now I'm 45 years old.
You got hair on your face now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But I appreciate you taking the time out, man, to chat and, you know, and catch up and, you know, talk about some KU football, man. So, you know, as you know, as I'm gonna jump right into it, man. Just us both being KU alums, man. I have my experiences. I have my times. I was a running back, obviously, but you being an elite defensive player, man. Tell me about your times at Kansas briefly. Like what made you go to KU, and just your time there and your experiences.
I stepped on the campus of the University of Kansas in 1996. I was a junior college transfer. Always wanted to be a Jayhawk. What sold it for me was when in '95 they had started out, 1-0, 2-0, and it just kept growing, and it just made my decision a lot easier. I used to go out there during the season and just sit in the stands, watch the games, just watch how the stadium got packed, and it just felt home. It always had been. I used to go out there when I was younger for basketball camps. I was a huge Roy Williams fan. I became a Masons fan, when they started, putting it together, and it just made my decision a lot easier.
Oh yeah, and that's what's up. And you mentioned one thing about the feeling. A lot of times, people talk about they chase popularity or they chase, what's in, who's the top dog, the most popular now. But like same thing, man. And that resonated with me. Like the feeling. I know you're a Kansas guy, born and raised, and I'm a Texas guy, but the same thing. Just the feeling. And I know when you referenced that '95 season, I think they were 10-2 that year, Aloha Bowl champions, and I mean they were rolling, man. So that's good. So you go there, you step on campus as a junior college transfer, and so what was like the first 2-a-day camp? How was that different from where you had been, as far as going to play in the newly Big 12?
It was very interesting because I had a teammate that came with me from ICC. His name is Preston McGoy, and he played wide receiver. So he got there, a week before I did. I came a week late, so I missed a week because I had to finish up, school at ICC. And he was just letting me know. I would call him every day, like, hey, man, how is it? How's campus? How's, the football team? He was like, hey, he said, I've already told them about you, so, they're expecting you, But when I arrived there, man, it was just like I said, it was like home. It was just, it fit perfect for me. It's like a hand in a glove. And, the guys that were already there that, I had been looking in the magazines and, the Jason Thorns, the Ronnie Wards, the Tony Blevinses, and Eric Bands, and just everybody else that trickled in, J.J. Johnson, Dewey Houston III, and
boy, taking me back with these names, boy, taking me back.
Jamie Harris, Jason Harris, Mo Gaddy. Mo Gaddy was a huge, intricate part for me to come to KU, and when I got there, they were just like, you got to put in that work, and once I put in the work and once I put the pads on and they saw that I could play, they were marveled with it, because when I came in, I was 6'4", about 215. I was still kind of skinny for the position. I didn't want to play drop. I didn't want to drop because I was a defensive end in community college. Okay. So, I played the big end. But the big end and Coach Hankowitz's defense was big. Chris Jones was the starter. He was like 260. Oof. But I was fast and,
yes, you were.
I could use my hands real well. And, I love to hit, so it was a no-brainer. So I fit right on in with the boys.
Yeah, and he's modest. We talked, but I mean, even I don't want to jump around. So after that first year, obviously Coach Mason goes to Minnesota, and so Coach Allen comes in, and I think they got there in January. How was that transition with you? As far as going with Coach Mason, or just, I knew you always wanted to be a Jayhawk. So did that just your loyalty to just wanting to be a Jayhawk? Was that what was forefront, or just something else with what made you stay with Coach Allen and his new staff coming in after being, just with that staff 1 year? Because I know Coach Hankwitz is legendary, and he's had some legendary defenses and the schemes. I mean, I think he went to Texas A&M after that. We had to go against him as a player. So yes, I mean, I had some teammates from high school who played for him, so and I hear nothing but great things about him. So what was one of a couple of reasons that made you stay, or the defining reason to make you stay at Kansas?
Well, for one, I was watching SportsCenter, the year had turned from 96 to 97. So I'm at home in Independence watching Sports Center.
Uh-huh.
And it ran across, you know what I'm saying, Glenn Mason is going to Minnesota. And I was like, oh, Minnesota? It's like, man, I just got there. So,
Yeah.
you know, I talked to a few buddies of mine, teammates of mine, and was like, yo, man, what y'all going to do? So a lot of the guys was like, oh, we're going to Minnesota. We're going to other schools and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a no-brainer to me because I was a Jayhawk.
Yeah.
Period. I've always wanted to be a Jayhawk. There was nothing that was going to deter my mind on transferring or going anywhere else.
Yeah. Because it wasn't like you couldn't. Yeah, it wasn't like you couldn't.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
After my junior season, you know what I'm saying, I went to any school in the nation.
See,
you know what I'm saying? Because now I led the team in sacks with 6.5 sacks my junior year. I should have got Big 12 newcomer of the year, but they gave it to a guy from K-State, pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? So it just fueled the fire for me to just even get better. So now my whole focus was getting back to Lawrence. But this is the thing. Coach Hankiewicz was like decorating our locker room. So you remember how our locker room looked.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you know when you first walk in, you make that right, and there's the lockers where Jeff Heimer
equipment,
get all our equipment at.
Uh-huh.
Well, on that big wall right there, he was already putting up the defenses, who was going to be first team all the way through third team, who he was recruiting.
Nice.
And I talked to Coach Hank.
Uh-huh.
Coach Hank was supposed to stay in Lawrence.
Wow.
He was supposed to be the head coach.
Didn't know that.
You know what I'm saying? And see, our offensive coordinator, which his name was Golden Pat Rule.
Talk to Coach Rule all the time.
Coach Rule.
Yeah.
But see, Coach Rule was supposed to be the assistant head coach.
Wow.
But it didn't happen that way because I talked to Coach Hank, and he was like, you're going to be the name now because, you know, Ronnie was gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, I'm with it. I said, I want to gain about 30 pounds. And I said, I just want to wreck. So he was just like, all right, then. So this is the defense that we're going to be running, and you're going to be the feature of the defense. Well, then 3 days later, he takes a job at Texas A&M. I was crushed.
You know. And at that age, it's hard to understand. It's the business. It's the lifestyle.
But you're a 21-year-old kid. You're not thinking. All you're thinking about is, okay, I need to get from here to the next level. So, when Terry and them came in, I remember meeting them, you know, saying on campus, because I was on campus. They called. Well, I was in class, and they had called in, my dorm and was like, hey, you know, we want to meet you and everything. So it was me, Jason Thorne, Tony Blevins, Matt Johnner, and Eric Mann. So when we walked, we were all in, because they were in there before I was. So I was always running around late.
Yeah.
So when I came in there, you know, they were all in there, and that's when I met Terry. You know what I'm saying? And then it went from Terry. Terry was telling us, all right, you guys are going to be the captains of the football team. And then he singled me out and was like, hey, you know, Ron, this is what we want out of you. We want you to be the leader, the voice, the face. So it just changed everything for me. You know what I'm saying? Now I got to be a leader of a university, of a football team, when I was, you know, kind of behind the scenes a little bit, just doing me, just trying to find who I was. Yeah. And it changed everything for me. You know, Terry, you know, and then that's when I met Coach Wiegand, our defensive coordinator. I talked to him about, you know, playing in a 3-4 defense. You know, he said that, you know, I was a hybrid. I had never heard that before. Yeah, you got to think this is 97. Yeah, you got to think. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I've never heard that before. So now I met Coach Farley. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Coach Farley, you know, said he's the head football coach of where he's at, you know what I'm saying, at Northern Iowa. And he changed my life too. He was just like, all right, this is what we're going to watch. We're going to watch all pass rush ends, and we're going to watch all drop ends. Wow. And that's what I became. Yeah. You know? So, but I never thought about going to any other school. That's what's up. I never thought about leaving my brothers. I never thought about doing anything outside of what I signed my letter of intent with the University of Kansas. I wanted to graduate from the University of Kansas. I wanted to have the opportunity to lead them to bigger and better things. You know, it didn't go as expected, but it helped me reach my dreams. Helped me reach my goals. You know what I'm saying? And it trickled down for everybody else.
It did. And so you fast forward, and you know, so what brings us together is that next class, which I was in his first signing, Coach Allen's first signing class. And so, you know, this is now it's old school. And so, you know, y'all are doing y'all thing, and we step on campus. And this is back when they had freshman only camp. So the first 3 days we're getting those reps, and I remember like the last day, the varsity or the you know, the returners are coming back, and I remember everybody going in the practice field and just circling around like kind of their position group. And I remember just certain guys, like if a receiver drop a ball, guy be like, "Oh yeah, they redshirting you." Like just all these mind games and all these things, you know. And so, you know, you know, camp starts, and I remember, and we joked about it earlier, and I just got to fast forward to it, man. And, you know, you're the starting, you know, outside linebacker, and I've seen what you do, and you can run. And so I'm playing running back, and that's who's paired up, running backs and linebackers. And so you have 10 minutes of pass coverage one-on-one against the linebackers. Oh yeah, I'm running circles around everybody. I'm about to make this team as a freshman. And then fast forwards and flips, the next 10 is pass blocking. And I'm kind of in the back, you know, letting the older guy like, oh my God. And so I see you go, I go against a guy, and then it happens like, I don't know if it was that week or next week, and we had gotten close already. I'm kind of skipping around.
You were already talking.
And so it is you and me, pass rush. And I'm like, oh my God. And I used to cheat. I used to move that cone up so y'all couldn't just bull rush me. I mean, we couldn't cut. And the funniest thing, man, we talked about it. So you see that I'm about to match up with you. You're like, Coach, get somebody else in here, man. I'm like, I act like I was now. I'm like, whew, thank God. I was like, dude, I've seen what you did to people. What am I at 5'6.5", 160 pounds gonna do with you except get hurt or cut you? You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna cut my own teammates. So, and you know, you gave me mercy. You spoke for me, because Coach Garrison was not gonna let me pass on that.
No, he wasn't. He wanted to see it.
He was hard nosed, man, and I appreciate it, you know, and just I remember that moment like it was yesterday, man. But yet, so getting into that 97 season, man, I do remember, you know, you being, you know, the leader on defense, and, you know, Eric Van being the leader on offense. And I say you two guys' names because y'all, you know, brought me in, you know, of course you got to earn your stripes, man. And, you know, once I, you know, proved that, you know, I was worthy of at least playing and traveling, man, y'all just took me into your wing and just gave me knowledge on how to handle the game mentally, and, you know, how some things are not going to go the way I want them to, not right now because of my age, because of my body maturity, different things, man, you know. And you and EV, man, y'all were so good to me, man. And you know, y'all were a big part of me getting through that freshman year and just having some success. And, you know, we were a good team. I don't care what nobody say, man. We were a good team. You know, we talk about one of the big rivalries in college football, and you can't, you know, you talk about the Missouri game, and, you know, I think about that first year, you know, my first year, and, you know, there's a young Ron Warner, and, you know, Missouri's a good team, man. You know, I don't know if they were ranked. I know we wasn't ranked, but they come into, you know, Lawrence early, you know, for a Big 12 conference game, and it goes down to the wire. And, you know, you show up so, you know, big in that game, and the hustle. And, you know, tell me what you remember about that particular game.
I know it was at 11 o'clock. I remember that. You know what I'm saying? I remember it was kind of like misty, kind of like darkish. It was like a perfect game for a rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, I hated Missouri.
Yeah.
To the passion. We went to Missouri my junior year and got thumped in Missouri. So that stuck with me. I couldn't wait. That's another reason why I got bigger and stronger, because, you know, their backfield was huge.
Yeah.
You know, they had Corby back there, quarterback.
He's about 225. Yeah, he's about 225 himself, 230 almost.
He was Jalen Hurts in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? I love Jalen.
I was trying to celebrate. I was trying to celebrate with you. You wouldn't even. You were so tired. You were so tired.
I was wore out, man.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It was just, you know, man. It's like the atmosphere was great. You know, the whole entire game was just like, it was just Imano. Who could finish.
Yeah.
And I remember right before I made this play, the sack to end the game.
Uh-huh.
I remember I was chasing Corby around, chasing him around. I was like, almost got him. All right, almost got him. The one time I reached and I pulled him down. I pulled his jersey. You know, I was getting hits on him. But the play right before that play, Missouri called timeout.
Uh-huh. I remember.
And they gave me a little. I just needed a little wind.
Yeah.
I got that little wind. And I said, "That's your tail." I said, "It's a wrap now." And I saw the tackle. He was like leaning.
Uh-huh.
When I looked in, and that's one thing that Farley had taught me in the offseason. He was just like, "Your key points is that tackle's left leg.
Mm-hmm.
If that left leg is quivering, you got him."
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and it was rocking. I said, "I got him." And
He wasn't be able to get back. He's worried about being able to get past it.
He wasn't going to kick back. And as soon as that ball, I was gone, man. And when I came, and it's like he couldn't even like reach to get me because I was already around the corner.
Yeah.
And then Corby was sitting there. I said, "Yeah, this is ball game."
Yeah, and you know,
ball game.
Dude, and like I say, you grew up around it and you hated them, and in that week and in those 5, 6, 7 days, man, I developed that rivalry and that hate for Missouri right then. And of course, football wise, you know, I'm a Texas kid, and I grew up around the Texas A&Ms and those different rivalries. But when Coach Fambro would come talk to us the night before, and he made you want to go fight right then and there that night, and we had to sleep on that, and just the story, the way he told it, man, and those things will never leave my mind, man. I'm so grateful for those things, and it just that was a big win, man, and it just really it set us up for to go on a run, in Big 12 play in a only in the second year of existence, man, and I just we rolled through there, we talked about some bumps and bruises. I think we flip back and we go and we play a surprisingly good Cincinnati team in Cincinnati, and they give it to us, Yeah, I mean, I think I had like 5 reps, like body safety, it's self-preservation, I mean, and what I remember about each one of those games, though, man, you were so vocal and you walked talk, and that was one of the big things that I loved about you, man, because it's like in one moment, man, you just this mean, nasty dude that's ripping off tackles, heads, sacking quarterbacks, and then the next moment, man, you can take the time out to say, "Hey, Wimbush, you good, man? Don't worry about this, don't worry about that," because a lot of times seniors, like you say, are thinking about other things. Let's have a good senior year. Am I gonna get drafted in the NFL? I want to make this the best year I can for myself, man. But you always took time out, to give me pointers and help me out, even like how to block, outside linebackers. You said it ain't gonna work on me, but it's gonna work on them other guys.
Not work on me. You better cover something else.
Well, let me tell you something. I didn't have it in my toolbox. I didn't have it at all that year. But man, you were so vocal, man. I remember, just certain things that stand out. I fast forward. We beat Oklahoma, that year, and we're setting ourselves up for some things. We ran into a tough, road, a road schedule. I think we had Colorado on the road, we had K-State on the road, and
Tech on the road.
Yeah, and that makes me think about this, my first collegiate touchdown. I don't put this on here to say look at my touchdown, but you was playing some offense a little bit to help us out, like a backside tight end. And they talked about that, and then the first person they show is you after I scored a touchdown, man. Because you were locked in. You could have been sitting on the bench, man. Trying to get your air and trying to get yourself together, but you're out there supporting the offense and watching us, and supporting a young freshman and some other guys. So I appreciate that, man. And when we talk about those things, over and over, and those are some of the great times I'll never forget, man. But we fast forward, and we go into Austin. We go into the last game of the season playing a Texas team who was having their own issues, but they also had Ricky Williams. And, and it was one of those things where it was an hour from my hometown. I'm like, man, we're going to get this game. We're going to get this game no matter what. And it didn't go that way. Tell me what you remember about that November, rainy, cold. It was cold in Austin, man. And we were beating them. And I think you put a hit or you did something. Y'all knocked Ricky around, and he went out hurt with an ankle injury for like a quarter, maybe a quarter.
That was my biggest game in tackles. Was against Texas my senior year. I always played very well against the Texas school, Texas Tech, TCU, Texas. You know what I'm saying? I wish I'd have got a chance to play against Baylor and A&M, but my sack average against those schools is probably like 9 out of the 20 and a half sacks that I had at the University of Kansas.
Wow.
Maybe even more. I could, you know what I'm saying? I'm older now. So, but I know when we played Texas, you know, Ricky was suspended the first half.
Okay, that's what it was. All
right. So I'm already licking my chops. I'm like, all right, if we jump out on them good, you know what I'm saying, we'll be fine. Well, we did.
And we
did. This was the offense. Our offense came out swinging, and we were scoring points, and our defense was playing good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'm sitting on stuff. So I'm sitting in my locker, and I'm like, okay, I'm basically an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 15 minutes for leading Kansas to a bowl game.
Yes. Yeah.
Preferably at this time, the Aloha Bowl again, because we were 5-5, getting an opportunity to go 6-5, and went out there second half and we laid an egg. And our defense didn't play the way that it was supposed to play, and they got Ricky Williams. So all they did was hand the ball off to Ricky. So they ran a throwback pass with Ricky, and I remember coming off the corner, and I saw it set up, and I tackled Ricky for like a 8-yard loss, and we were down. Me and Ricky been going at it for years.
Yeah.
NFL.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah. So that's my guy, and he got up and he told me, he said, "Hey, I'm about to run shop on y'all." So no, you ain't. I'm talking trash. No, you ain't. And he ran shop 225 yards later.
You remember that was the number. And you know, and we say that to say, I think the score was 46, 42, 40, 44, 47. It was a close game, you know, but I mean, just we say all that to say like the effect Ricky had, you know, on, you know, the impact of players and things like that, man. And so, you know, we don't get that win, you know, we one game away from bowl, you know, and so like things change for you and me both. So I'm going into my first off season, you know, as a college football player. Now you're prepping for the NFL. And I remember us me hanging around you still and you know, hanging out. I remember I got my very first tattoo with you. And I remember I think I was 18 by then, still young. And I remember, you're not gonna remember that, and you said, "Boy," he said, "did you call and ask your mom for permission to get that tattoo?" I said, "No, I'm in college now." I said, "No." She said, "She gonna whoop your she gonna whoop your tail."
You know what I'm saying?
And I remember that, man, because you know, I thought I was, you know, I was young, you know, older now and doing all this and stuff, you know. But yeah, so you know, I'm gonna let you have the I didn't mention this in the beginning. We are talking to a Super Bowl champion, but I'm going to let Ron tell his story now because from, you know, he's played for New Orleans Saints, he's played for the Washington Redskins and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but his story, you know, and how he got there, you know, is a great one. So tell me about getting to the NFL, man.
So in 99, I had ended the regular season on the practice squad with the Chicago Bears. You know, at the time, the defensive coordinator was Greg Blige. So I went in there and talked to Greg, you know, and he was like, "Hey, you know, we're going to allocate you to Europe." I said, "Okay, I'm with that, you know, so I can showcase what I can do at linebacker." Now I'm really playing a true linebacker. I'm a strong side linebacker. So it didn't happen. So 2000, you know, nobody signed me, so I'm out the league. I'm going through spring. I'm playing in an indoor football league in Topeka, Kansas, called the Topeka Knights. So next thing I know, I meet up with a guy named George Lemon, who was the owner of the Topeka Knights. I met his father, who was Meadowlark Lemon, the great Harlem Globetrotter. And I'm sitting in the office, and Meadowlark Lemon is sitting on his son's desk, and he said, "Hey, son," he was like, "My son is telling me that you got a great opportunity to continue your career. It's however you want to do it. You know, at this time I'm 24 years old. I'm still young and everything." So, Mr. Lemon, which is George, he had 2 contracts. He had a contract for the Topeka Knights. He said, "Hey, I can give you 5-year deal. You can get paid $1,000 a game. We're playing 10 games. You go to the playoffs. This is what you can make, and I can give you a $5,000 signing bonus."
Nice.
Well, I've already been in the NFL, so I already know what a signing bonus is.
Yeah.
That's no money.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, then, then at this time I was engaged. So I said, no, I don't want that. What's the other contract? He said, well, the other contract is a $65,000 contract with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And they're willing to sign you right now. All you got to do is sign it. And back in these days, it's emails. Or how can I not emails? It's fax machine. So we faxed the contract over. I go to Canada. I'm in Canada. And I make the team. So when I make the team, first game of the season, first game against Montreal, I had 2 sacks, 7 tackles in the first half.
Nice.
I'm giving them the business.
Yeah.
Come out second half, bust my bicep. Right bicep, tore it. Damn. So what did I do? I just got into that mode, and I had surgery. 3 days later, rehab. And I came back during the season. Now, most injuries like that, you can't come back. I came back, and I balled out, led my team in sacks, took us to 1 game from the Grey Cup.
Nice.
So I come home, and I'm working out, getting stronger, and waiting on a phone call from the NFL. 2001 rolls around, no phone call. January's over, no phone call. So now, mind you, I have to be signed to an NFL squad no later than February 24th. And I get a phone call on February 21st. I'm asleep. Phone rings. It's a guy named Mark Dominic, and he says, hey, is Ron Warner there? We're with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hung the phone up because I hadn't got the phone call.
You was already starting to feel down. You're like, don't play with me. Yeah.
I hadn't gotten a phone call. Some of my teammates joking, being sarcastic comedians and everything. So I dozed back off maybe like 10 seconds later. The phone rings again. So back in those days, we had a caller ID. You had a big box caller ID connected to the phone.
You aging us. Yeah, you aging us now.
Yeah. So I looked at the phone. It said Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was like, oh, let me get up. So I got up, answered. So the voice on the other line was like, hey, he said, is Ron Warner there? And I said, yeah, this is him. He said, hey, this is Mark Dominic with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said, hey, he was like, so what happened to your phone? He said, I heard you. I said, hey, the phone unplugged. I said, it was my bad. I didn't need to. You know what I'm saying? So, so we started talking and everything, and he was like, hey, we want to work you out. I said, all right then. So at this time, it was my fiance. I told her what was going on. So they brought me to the airport that same day. And flew out to Tampa. The next day, I worked out for him. I weighed in at 255. I ran a 4.56 for him, and I did everything correctly. And the great Rod Marinelli, I was walking off the field with my head down, and he said, hey, son, pick your head up. He was like, you're all right, So I picked my head up and walked off the field, and this was at $1. If anybody knows anything about Tampa Bay, $1 was right by the airport. It was trailers connected together. It was just, it ain't like $1 now.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So they brought me to that. Well, we went to Leroy Selmans. We ate. We talked. I talked with the GM at the time. Man, I didn't think that I was going to. I didn't know what my future was going to be. All I knew is I had this young lady that I wanted to marry. I wanted to start a family with, and I wanted to start a family with it correctly. So I get dropped off at the airport, and Mark Dominic was like, hey, give me a couple of days, and I'm going to see, what we're going to do. And I was like, shoot, man, all I got is a couple of days. If I don't sign with y'all, I got to go back to Canada. It's part of my contract. So he said, all right, then. So get upstairs, take the escalator up to the terminal. This was pre 9/11 and all that. So, you access to get into anything, what I'm saying? So go up there, get up there, and I used a pay phone. I had a cell phone, but I used the pay phone to call my fiance. So I'm calling her and telling her what everything that's happening. She said, well, how you think it did? I said, I think I did good. I was like, So while I'm talking to her, I had a Sprint flip phone. This was when this boxy thing had first came out. So it ran across caller ID Tampa Bay. So I answered it, And it was Mark Dominic. And he said, hey, he said, Ron, where are you at? I said, well, I'm about to get on the plane. He said, no, you're not. You're coming downstairs. We're going to sign you to a 3-year deal.
Man,
and I was like, he said, we're not going to give you a signing bonus. You're going to have to earn it. I was like, damn, I kind of wanted that signing bonus.
I got stuff to do. I got stuff to pay for, man.
You know what I'm saying? I got to find a place to live.
Yeah.
But they gave me the opportunity. They showed me how to put in the work. I put the work in. I came back got married in March that year, like 2 weeks later, and came back and put the work in, went into Tampa and put the work in and met. Now they're all Hall of Famers. At this time, they were setting their resume up. Mm-hmm. They were still young, the great Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame coach, and, Warren, mm-hmm. Derek, Rondé, John, Mike, Ward Dunn, Keyshawn, Brian Kelly. And then you bring in, through the draft, they brought in Dwight Smith, Ellis Weems. I played with Nate Webb. So I could just keep naming names, mm-hmm. Carl the Truth Williams. And all these guys were like me. On mm-hmm. their specific team in college, mm-hmm. they were that guy. Yeah. Warren had already solidified himself as one of the dominant defensive tackles that have ever played a game. And this is 2001.
No doubt.
So I got to get my mind together. And it was difficult because I was so used to doing me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now you got to do everything within this defense. Tampa 2. You can't be doing you and expect to play.
Yeah. We
don't care how good you are. We can bring in somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I had to learn that. I learned it quick. And I can remember being in training camp that first year. We were at the University of Tampa, and there was 4 of us to a dorm,
Oh, man.
And I had a roommate. I hadn't had a roommate ever in college, ever. Now I got a roommate, and I can remember the guys being cut each day and thinking, okay, am I next? And at this time, I'm 25.
Yeah.
I'm 25 years old. And I can remember being in practice and being tired and it's hot. And I can remember Keyshawn saying, hey, you better run. Now, he play offense. I'm on defense. Yeah. Why are you worried about me? Yeah. But if you're wanting to win a championship.
Yeah, it's going to take the whole team. It's going to take everybody.
Take the whole squad. Yeah. So I made a squad that year.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting year because I was in New Orleans and we weren't good. 6 and 10. Mm-hmm. The atmosphere wasn't good. I was a part of the group that was hazed that year.
Yeah.
So they hazed our number 1 draft pick, Kyle Turley. That's my brother.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's my classmate. That's, he and I had the same agent. He and I trained together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just different. But it never threw my drive off. It just made me hungrier.
Yeah.
And I always knew that I had an opportunity to play in Tampa. Even when I was a Saint, I watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers walk through, you know what I'm saying? At this time, it wasn't Mercedes-Benz, you know what I'm saying? It was the New Orleans, it was the Dome.
Yeah.
So they walked through, and I was marveled because they walked in as a team. They didn't walk in individually. Yeah. They walked in as a team. I was like, man,
culture. Yeah, culture.
And it's culture. Yeah. And I'm not saying anything negative about this. I'm grateful for the New Orleans Saints, Mr. Benson, for drafting me.
Yeah.
But at that time, that culture was not good.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that. And I learned it in Tampa. And we fast forward to went to Europe in 2002. I finally got allocated. Mm-hmm. I went to Barcelona Dragons. I led the team in sacks. I led the league in sacks. So now I'm coming back.
Yeah, you're finding yourself. Yeah, finding the groove.
Because I tore my ACL in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
my stock plummeted. But I
before all that.
Before all that. So I had to come back from that. So from 98 to 2002, I'm really rehabbing. Yeah. And then I finally, it turned for me. And then I remember when I got back, I remember we were in mini camp practices, you know, like we called them OTA days. So we're in OTA. And I just got back. I probably been back 2 days, you know what I'm saying? I was supposed to have a week off, but I was just so eager to go out there and show John what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember Monty Kiffin, the late great, rest your soul, Monty Kiffin. I'm at practice and I'm running around, you know what I'm saying? And I'm running with the 2s, the 3s, the 1s. I'm just trying to, you know, because I've been gone. And some guys that were, you know, trying to compete for positions. This was the first time Monty Kiffin has spoke up for me, because Monty really didn't care too much about me. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I'm a Kansas guy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't pick up the defense fast enough through his eyes. I picked it up fast enough through Rod's eyes.
Yeah.
And Rod always spoke up for me.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was ready. And Monty saw that. So he was like, hey. This guy been over here in Europe. You mean to tell me he's running around, sprinting around? He just got off the plane 2 weeks ago. He just came back from Spain. I turned around and was like, what the hell?
Yeah, he talking about me?
He's talking about me. So I knew then I had like, okay, I've done something for him to speak up for me. And then, you know, Simeon, that's my brother. That's my big brother, man. I love him to death. He was one of the guys that, you know, I'd idolized when I was in, you know, college, that I wanted to be like him, Kevin Hardy, and Greg Spires, who we still talk to this day.
Nice.
Every day, Florida State guy, because I was a Florida State fan.
Yeah.
You know, and Warren, 99. That's why I wore. 99. He was everything to me. He was exciting. He was loud. He was big. He was fast. He was strong.
And you all that at Kansas,
and I put it together at Kansas. It's just that, you know, and I was just more sleek and slender with it than what he was. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, you know, we went on our run, man, and we did it by quarters. You know what I'm saying? You know, Coach Gruden came up with the theme, pound the rock. So, you know, when I mean quarters, you know, it's like, you know, we was 3-1, then we were 6-2, then we were 9-3. You know what I'm saying? Then we ended up going 12-4, and I knew we were going to the playoffs when we beat Green Bay. We finally beat Green Bay.
Yeah.
Because, see, we lost to Philly.
You tell me about that,
See, we had lost to Philly in the first round of the playoffs the year before. We just couldn't get Philly. So we beat Brett, and that's the game that, you know, Sapp got into it with the head coach. And Sapp was like, put some pads on if you're going to do all that talking. You know what I'm saying? So, we hadn't won in the cold weather. Tampa hasn't won in the cold weather, and it's like 17 games, 16 games like that. So we went to Chicago, and Chicago was working on their field, Soldier Field. So we had to play in Illinois.
Okay.
We played at the University of Illinois. Man, it was freezing outside, bro. I mean, it was free. But I'm from Kansas, but I had been living in the South since 98.
That blood got thin. That blood got thin.
Blood got thin. So we went out there, man, and we goose egged and we beat them. You know what I'm saying? And it was like you could feel it. It's like something that you feel. And then like to see, you know, Brooks and Sapp and Lynch, you know, Rondé, to see their faces because they had been there through the grind, especially, you know, JL and Sapp and Brooks, because they was wearing the bright yellow orange unis and they
the sherbet,
in a sherbet,
creamsicles,
So, you know, just to see their faces, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to go play hard for them, not just for the coaches, but for them, you know. And man, we get in the playoffs, you know, we had a bye week and we're watching the games and everything. And that's that game that Michael Vick, you know what I'm saying, had went to work against the Vikings.
Yes, on the yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, Green Bay and New York Giants went to the wire. See, it was 3 teams that were all 12-4. It was us, Green Bay, and Philly.
Okay.
We beat Green Bay,
Uh-huh.
but Philly beat us. So Philly had the number 1 seed. We had the number 2 seed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So those had the bye weeks.
Yeah.
So we got back to watch, San Fran. You know what I'm saying? So when we seen Vic do what he did, we was like, oh shit, we're gonna play against them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they went and played Philly.
That was probably a better matchup, huh? Better matchup.
Yeah.
But y'all was good. Y'all was so good on defense, man. I don't think it mattered.
Were.
Being on the outside looking in, y'all was,
they got to come to Tampa. They got to come to Raymond James.
Yeah.
Regardless, if Atlanta beats Philly, they got to come see us.
Yeah. Because y'all were top seed. Y'all were bye, so it didn't matter. Yeah, it didn't matter.
But we went to Philly. We beat San Fran at home. San Fran had a squad. We thumped them. T.O. and them boys and Garcia and Garrison Hurst and thumped them boys. You know what I'm saying? So went on ahead and went to Philly. It was cold in Philly. We beat them and we beat them there. And it was like, dang, man, I'm going to the Super Bowl. Everything that I went through.
Yeah.
Everything that I had just went through from 1998, tearing my ACL at the All-Star game, to plummeting in the draft, to getting ready to go to the Super Bowl to represent the NFC.
So tell me about that moment. Do you step outside of yourself, like when you're on the sideline and the national anthem's being sung, and the jets are flying over? Like, what was that moment like, man? Because that's like everybody knows what the Super Bowl is. Like,
I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You're in elite number. Very few, can say that they, let alone went to see a Super Bowl. You played in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
And won it. That's the whole thing about it. It's like, my life, like I said, I was 20. I had just turned 27. My wife at that time was pregnant with our daughter, and she was there. My childhood friends was there. My in-law, my mother-in-law was there. My mother couldn't come because she couldn't ride in the. She had messed her back up, so she couldn't come. So my mother-in-law came in her place.
Gotcha.
And to see, I just been, like I said, I only been married a year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to see those light bulbs and to see the fighter jets and all that, it was just like, man, everything that I worked hard for from the time I was 8 years old has come true. Like, it really came true. Like, if you really believe in the Lord and you speak it into existence, He'll give it to you. And He gave it to me. And, being from Independence, Kansas, a small town in Kansas, and, 5A school, dominant by basketball. I'm from a state that's dominant by basketball.
Yeah.
I played basketball, but being at that Super Bowl and seeing it, what really did it for me, though? I was at practice. I've never been a type of a person that was starstruck.
Yeah.
I never had been like that. You know what I'm saying? Love Michael Jordan. That's my guy. I got the opportunity to be in the same vicinity with him, at his celebrity golf tournament in Vegas. But to see John Madden.
Yeah. Yes.
And to talk to John Madden was everything to me.
And that voice, I bet when that like that voice coming out of his mouth, his voice.
When he said my name and he knew who I was, I was like, I can die right now. I can go right now.
That's what's up, man.
And he was just, Ron Warner at University of Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas is all-time single season sack. Well, at the time, I was Kansas all-time sack leader.
You were,
And he knew everything about Tampa Bay, everything about us. And he asked me, how I felt about playing in the Super Bowl. And I told him straight up, I was like, when I was a little kid, I watched every Super Bowl from the time I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, this is what I'm going to do.
Nice.
And I told him that, and I got to share that moment with him and Al Michaels.
That's crazy. You'll never forget that, man.
Never.
Never
forget that.
and we talked about it. We talked about it a little earlier, man. You and I talked about like everybody has similar destinations on what they want to do in life, whether it's sports, the medical field, whatever. But everybody's journey is different getting there, and that's something you got to embrace your own individual journey, man. And it really tests to see if how bad do you want it. You look at other people, and that's where we sometimes get messed up. Like, you don't know that person's story. You only see the glory, as they say, of what that person go through, but you don't know what they went through behind the scenes, man. And to tell for you to give us is I know you condensed it on what you went through, man. I mean, it's definitely inspirational. It still inspires me. I'm lucky, man. I'm so lucky to have had you as a teammate. And we still talk to this day. That's a blessing in itself, man. I know a lot of people don't stay in touch. Life happens, things happen, but I mean, I'm so grateful that we got a chance to catch up. Before we go, I want you to tell me. I want you to timestamp this. I want you to timestamp this picture right here, man.
Hey, that's I want to say that's the summer of '99. Yeah.
And so it's so funny because this is going into my junior year, so I'd already started. So I'm thinking I'm about to be like Ron. I'm about to be the guy, and it's funny. You'll never see me. I have a do-rag on because it was popular. The cornrows was in. I'm thinking, can I really grow my hair out? So I was trying, but it wasn't working out. It wasn't working out. I was a clean cut guy. I couldn't do it.
Turn right. Yeah.
It wouldn't. I wasn't getting no hang time out of my helmet, so I cut it off, man. But I remember us hanging out at that picnic or something like a track picnic or sorority, fraternity thing. I ran track that year. That's why I got that shirt on. But yeah, anytime you came back to school, man, we always linked up, man. I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah.
But man, I ain't gonna hold you no more. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, coming to the show. I remember, you, me, I know you, me, and Eric Van. We kind of talked in triangles. I talked to E, you talked to him, and then but I'm glad I got you on the show, man. I appreciate you telling us, your story, man. But hey, Ron Warner, man, all-time single-season sack leader, Super Bowl champion, my bro, man, Kansas legend, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Anytime, brother. Hit me up.
Right.
Love you.
Yes, I love you too. All right, so hope y'all enjoyed that, man. He gave a great testimony. He gave a great story about his journey, the ins and outs, ups and downs of the NFL dream, man, and having to go different places, having to, fight back. So I hope y'all enjoyed that, man. It was a great talk. It was great to catch up with Ron. All right, man, we're coming close to a wrap. Let's talk about how our picks went from last week. So I take the struggle with my boys. I'm a ride or die with KU till the wheels fall off. I went 2-5, man, in the Big 12. You went 4-2. Tell me about your biggest surprise on just your 2 losses.
Kentucky, obviously. It was a surprise, but it wasn't, because it was one of the ones I'd marked down as being close, because anytime you have a finesse team, which is for the most part what Ole Miss is, they want to get out there and dance and blow by you. But whenever you can get your hands on them and make it a tough, physical, grimy game, I think that changes some calculus. And they hung with Ole Miss and they were tough the whole time. So that was the one that probably really, really caught my eye. And then obviously I thought Alabama would win, but the way that game won,
Alabama. Okay.
The way that game went was certainly a surprise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I know a lot of, especially the gamblers, were they're like, what is going on?
That overhit good.
I know.
What about you? Were you non-Kansas?
They were, non-Kansas. I think I still thought the Kansas State game was a toss. I'm probably gonna pick against Kansas State just because, but it is what it is. Oklahoma State's not a bad team. I think I'm starting to adapt the rule, and I did start to adopt it at first, but don't go against Prime. And I went against Prime, because I went off of base numbers and how UFC was playing, man, and RJ Harvey running the ball, and Colorado wasn't stopping the run, and it's just them boys.
Well, that one you can stomach. Nick Saban was wrong about that one too. So anytime the GOAT is wrong with you,
and I never know. You never know what goes on in Lubbock. I never know what the hell Texas Tech is gonna do, man. They look like $1 million one week, and the next week they can't play dead in the Western. So I don't know, man. So that's always weird. Now that biggest upset was obviously Arizona, Utah. I thought Arizona came out and they just showed they showed out, man. I mean, that quarterback, man, He played so good. I think they even bumped him up on NCAA in the video game. I mean, he showed out, and I mean, Utah is having, like I say, the quarterback issues still, and health concerns. Staying healthy in key areas. So I don't know, man. The Big 12 is it's creating some people are showing up that you didn't expect to show up, and some people are underperforming.
It's what I thought it would be. It is exciting from a standpoint that for the most part the teams are so evenly matched that you don't know what's going to happen from week to week, and that makes it fun to watch.
Yeah, and that keeps us hopeful somewhat because it's not a determined, like you say, you done lost these games. Well, it keeps us hopeful because you never know. Would you have picked any day of the week Arizona to beat Utah?
No,
that's what I'm at this point,
you allow room for that because it's early in the season.
Yeah. Well,
the problem if you're
getting
Kansas,
to the halfway point. Yeah, we're getting to the halfway point.
You got to write this ship now.
Yeah. No, 100%. I totally agree, and I will hold on to the last string of hope, and then you might not ever hear me.
Which is probably this week.
Yes. So with that being said, this week's slate, Kansas goes to Tempe. We'll see. Similar records, similar, performances. I don't know. I watched TCU the whole game last week. Houston's still having their struggles. I thought TCU did some good things on offense. I don't think Houston to be able to stop them. I'm still mad at West Virginia over the Kansas Dogs, but I think I still think it's hard to win in Stillwater. I don't care what you say. It's hard to win in Stillwater if they can just run the ball and get Ollie Gordon going the right way. I know West Virginia can't stop him. Now, can they stop Garrett Green? He's a scrambling. He's a troublemaker. I think Baylor, Iowa State's rolling. Iowa State's good, and that tastes yucky coming out of my mouth, but they're good. They've done a hell of a job. Coach has stayed there, and he's weathered some storms and still been good with some average talent,
I tell you, I've
been
on record with this, and
yeah,
I give Matt Campbell a whole lot of credit because I'm a big believer, especially when you're at a school that historically doesn't have, a ton of success from year to year. Strike when the iron is hot, and he had an opportunity to go to Nebraska. He had an opportunity to interview at Michigan, and he declined. He had an opportunity to go to the Detroit Lions years ago, and he said no to all of that.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he only has one job that he'll leave for, in which may or may not, depending on how the end of the season goes in Columbus. But credit to him, man, because I just knew, especially after last year when they struggled, I was like, he missed that window. But shout out to him because he made another one.
Yeah, he sure did, and that's big. So Ames is tough, man. They're no longer a sure thing, a sure win. So I think the most interesting matchup is the Central Florida game, and I see we both got opposites picked. I think it's a toss. I don't know. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know who's going to show up. Which team is going to show up? So it'll be interesting to see coming back next week who gets that one. Now, after the way Arizona played, I don't think it was too high, but too high that they won't be able to get up for Texas Tech, and they're going to be in Arizona, so it'll probably be a late night game. I'm looking at Arizona to get Texas Tech. So what about you?
I got Missouri. I'll just never pick A&M when there's a chance they could lose. I'll just take that. I'll take that L if it comes. But I actually believe Missouri will be able to play fast on them, and I think that'll give them some problems. Georgia and Auburn, I feel like this game is a tipping point for Georgia where they will go because you fought really, really hard.
They're gonna run them out the stadium. They're gonna run them out the stadium. They're gonna blow them out.
I don't know, man. First of all, Hugh Freeze. I will never, in a million years, cover my eyes, tie my hands behind my back, just outright bet against Hugh Freeze because guys with that kind of mind are just too good.
He's a gambler too.
but I want to see. I'm very curious to see if Georgia comes out and just murders them, or is there some hangover from a tough loss? Ole Miss, South Carolina. I wanted South Carolina. I put a caveat on this pick. If South Carolina's quarterback plays
the freshman,
I'm picking South Carolina. But assuming that he's not, I'll take Ole Miss. Alabama, Vanderbilt. It's funny because Vanderbilt, we won Alabama early on. I think when they started 2-0. So You get what you ask for, and that stadium in Nashville is going to be all red.
Every time I think about that, I think about that guy, that player for Vanderbilt. I don't know how many years ago when he told him like Alabama's got to come to Vanderbilt. We play football. We play football here, and they got.
I think it was last year.
Was it? I don't know.
I think so. Or it might have been early this year. I'm telling you, that was like one of the things that just happened. So,
oh my god,
careful what you ask for, and those fans are going to be there from Tuscaloosa, and they're going to have a time in Nashville. And then my game of the week is Tennessee and Arkansas. A couple of reasons. I always like an advanced look of, places we've got to go, and I know what that environment in Fayetteville is like. So just curious, this will give me a really good look at who Arkansas is, because I see a lot of similarities between Texas and Tennessee. I think the defensive line is very comparable. They don't get as much pressure on the quarterback as maybe a Texas does, but they're decent on the back end. And then on offense, they're incredible.
They got to get
those wide
splits. They got to get him calmed down. But they've got to get him calmed down. That quarterback at Arkansas, he was all over the place, man, against A&M.
So I want to see, again, just a game that you could lose if you don't have your eye on the ball and you're not where your feet are. So just really curious. I think Tennessee would win, but I would love, as a Texas fan, for Arkansas to win, because you can point to this film and say, see what happens when you're not paying attention. And then Florida, man, I honestly believe, I think in football, there's just a thing about size, man, and Florida is the bigger team by a mile. So I think when you can just put your paws on them, and I think they'll be able to run the ball, the difference is going to be the turnover battle. If Florida can run the ball and not turn that thing over, I think they have a chance. And if they win it, look out. They may be able to get their feet up under them a little bit.
Yeah, KJ and RJ, I tell you what, like say, you that's a good aspect, point of view, bigger team, traditionally better roster, but now it's the chip on the shoulder, little brother, Napoleon,
but Lagway's really good, right? So do they play him? Do they do the things with him that he allows?
Nothing replaces game time reps, game reps, and
100%.
This is all learning for this kid. So where people on the outside, well, he's a 5-star, he's rated this high quarterback, he's still got to get these reps under his belt, man. And people, that's why quarterback is the most popular position in the game, because not everybody can play it. Everybody said they can play it. Right. I mean, especially the armchairs. But I mean, to process and know what's going on and know what everyone is doing, man. I mean,
it was hard to pick Florida. I'm a big Gus Malzahn guy, so I'm excited to see that one.
You were very professional in highlighting your game. I'm just interested, and I'm gonna keep it in the dark, of Mizzou, Texas A&M. Those two teams historically in my life hold special places. Obviously, how I feel about Mizzou.
I was about to say, you almost went to A&M.
Yeah, and got some friends who went there, so I'll be interested to see how that pans out. I mean, Mizzou's playing well, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we'll look for that. Hopefully, my overall record can improve. And you know what? If all of them are bad and the Jayhawks win,
hey, what Pat McAfee say? Not today.
Yeah, not today. I mean, my overall is bad, but we're not there yet. We're not at what they call Thunderdome. But we appreciate y'all, man. Great show, a lot of stuff, man. But I mean, I hope y'all enjoyed that interview with Ron, man. I appreciate Eric. It's a lot of stuff, man. I'm excited about this week. New excitement, man. Every day is a new day, so. Hopefully we'll get on track and get things going. Eric's gonna be sitting back with his open.
I'm excited. We can't lose.
Yeah,
we can't lose. It's my birthday this weekend, man. What a great gift.
Boy, ain't God good? All right, man. Well, till next time, rock chalk.
Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
See y'all.
Hey, see y'all from Texas.